Hi everyone, welcome. I'm Eric Rodebois. This is EPGD Attorneys at Law, our first video from our Washington, D.C. office. What I want to talk to you guys today is about franchising your business. So everyone's heard of franchises, right? In fact, I was reading a funny article on television and they kept talking about the Star Trek franchise or the Star Wars franchise. But most of us are familiar with franchises like McDonald's, Subway, the restaurants that we see all the time, the fast food. I have a friend who owns a fast science franchise. I have a client who is actually franchising their business. So let's just talk about what that means. Typically what you start off with is a successful business, a single business, whether it's a single restaurant or a single promotional products company or a single advertising company, or one of our clients, they are a tutoring company or a physical therapy company. And so that single company at some point reaches its limit, right? And what I mean is there's just not more patience. You can't expand anymore. Maybe you've tapped out the market in your area, but basically you've got a successful business. There's a successful concept. And so you've got a couple options. One of your options would be to open a second location. Now, of course, you can only be one place at a time. So if you're the owner and also the manager, as most small businesses are, now you've got to consider hiring a second manager, someone you trust, someone who can run that other company for you. And maybe you'll be running around and checking in on all your companies. Okay, so let's say you're successful then. So now you think about doing a third location and maybe a fourth location. And the point is, at some point, you are running a little empire of businesses, and frankly, you might no longer be running that actual first business. You might no longer be running that first restaurant. You might no longer be like if you're a physical therapist, you might not be treating patients anymore. And so at some point, you're just running a number of businesses. So that is one model, okay? And in that model, every location is owned by one company. And certainly many of the restaurants that you know of where you see them all over, like for example, something like a third of the McDonald's are actually owned by corporate. They're not owned by franchisees. Okay, so let's talk about that. How do you become a franchisor? So the way you become a franchisor is you create a model that you can duplicate and then you sell that model, okay? And what you're selling is the branding, the marketing, the training, so that somebody else says, hey, I want to do what that person does, and they can buy that. You're going to train them how to do it. You're going to help them with the marketing. You're going to give them a geographical territory to do it in so that they're not right on top of you. So maybe they're in the next town over or the next county or the next state. And so then you help them and you basically teach them how to do what you know how to do. So how do you do that? First of all, you're going to do your branding, your trademarks. You're going to do your copywriting, all of your materials that you've written. You're going to write an operational manual, something that can be duplicated so that when you walk into every Starbucks, they all look the same. They ask you for your drink the same way, and then they serve you a drink the same way. They taste the same, right? Isn't that the point? And so then you need the legal documents. So what we do is we create a new structure. That's called a franchising company. And then we create the legal documents. They consist of a franchise disclosure document, the FDD, the franchise agreement, and the schedules and exhibits that go with it. Now, when you stack them all up, some of them are this thick. That's the contract that is take it or leave it. The franchisees, that's what we call the people who are going to be buying from you. They're going to be the people running your franchises. They don't have a choice of negotiating the terms. Now, most of that FDD is to protect you, the franchisor. Most of it is to protect you so that it's going to happen. One of these people is going to buy your franchise and they're not going to be successful. And what are they going to do? They're going to try and blame you. And what do they want? They're going to want their money back. And maybe they're going to try and accuse you of fraud. And so the FDD and having a good franchising lawyer is to teach you and to protect you so that your clients and your franchisees, that's what they really are. They're your clients. So I use the example of the physical therapy. So when you're selling physical therapy services, you're maybe selling for $150 an hour to help people with a sore shoulder. Well, now when you're selling franchises, you're looking for business owners who can invest up to $150,000, $200,000 to pay you the franchise fee and to build out a brand new office location. And so you are not in the business of selling $150 an hour. You're in the business of selling $150,000 for a business. So it takes a real change of the mentality. The upside is there. That's why this is one of the fastest growing areas of the law, one of the fastest growing industries in America, and why we opened a Washington, D.C. office, because this is the heart of franchise law in America, and our head of our franchise department usually sits right at this desk. Okay, thank you so much. Eric Rodebois for EPGD Law.